Excelsior fight fans, and welcome to KO Fantasy Boxing's visit to the Muhammad Ali Museum of Bethany. I'm Alex Pierpaoli. Rick Kaletsky is a boxing enthusiast, historian, and lifelong mega fan of Muhammad Ali. Over 400 square feet in the basement of Kaletsky's Bethany, Connecticut home are dedicated to the display of just about every form of Muhammad Ali memorabilia in existence. Books, posters, fight programs, robes, gloves, ticket stubs, and more flesh out a 19-page inventory commemorating the greatest's time as heavyweight champion of the world. The museum includes a section on the history of the sport as well as numerous other fistic luminaries, but its main focus is the self-proclaimed greatest of all time, the Louisville Lip, Muhammad Ali. More than just the ultimate Ali fanboy, Kaletsky had an honorary floor tile of his design placed inside the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville, Kentucky. And he was a guest at the invitation-only 70th birthday gala, where he visited with Muhammad and trainer Angelo Dundee. Kaletsky's knowledge of Muhammad Ali is impressive, and we thought we'd get his take on subjects old and new that relate to the greatest. Ali held 2 victories over the fearsome Charles Sonny Liston, and today there are still questions and controversies surrounding each win. Heavyweight boxing has been dominated by Vladimir Klitschko, not exactly considered the greatest of any time by American fight fans. But is he an all-time great? And what of the undefeated welterweight with a heavyweight mouth, Floyd Mayweather Jr.? He's claimed repeatedly that his own greatness eclipses that of Muhammad Ali's. We asked Rick for his take.
Talking to Rick Kaletsky at the Ali Museum in Bethany, Connecticut. How you doing today, Rick?
I'm dandy, thanks. I'm fine. I'm floating and I'm stinging.
So tell us a little bit about how you first got interested in Muhammad Ali.
Followed him a little bit in the Olympics. All that, the speed, the mouth, etc. And yes, this is a longer discussion, but there's things he said he wishes he didn't say and this and that. But for the most part, all that bragging and all that stuff was fun. He didn't talk the stuff like Tyson trying to knock the bone into the brain. He didn't do the stuff with Duran like when Lampkin was in the hospital. He said something like, he's lucky he's not in the morgue. It was a different kind of thing, by the way. In any case, I followed him, became a pro, was a little quiet for a while. He fought Tony Hunsaker and others. He started predicting the rounds. Then I got more interested. Long after that, I went down to my basement, Bellevue Road in New Haven, 385. I got to talk to this Cassius Clay guy. He was listed. I called regular directory assistants. Listed because that was his father's name, Cassius Marcellus Clay. I called him Collect. Why would I call him Collect? In those days, if you were on the phone long distance, people would say, ooh, don't bother him, he's on long distance. Or don't take too long, it's long distance. I simply didn't want my parents to get mad. So I called Collect, and on the other end I heard, well, he accepted the call. And I explained a few things, and he said, you heard about me all the way up there in Connecticut? And he told me about the Cooper fight that was to come. We did some chat back and forth. He did some poetry, etc. So what happened after that is roughly over the next 20 years, I met him several times, but I saw him fight live 8 times, including Ali Frazier 1 in Madison Square Garden. That was unbelievable.
When did you create the museum?
I started little by little. I think the first memorabilia thing I had was an album over there called I Am the Greatest. It says Cassius Clay. This is from the early 60s. He's spouting poetry, and he's talking about Liston and stuff like that. A few pictures, a few more things. It just, it's hard to explain the continuum. I now have a 19-page inventory. It does not include every little picture, but it includes the vast majority of stuff. That includes the non-Ali side of the museum, which is great fighters, going back to Gans and Langford and Johnson, and I even have Molyneux and stuff like that. Then coming up through Hearns and Duran and Benitez and Hagler and Leonard, and now we have the modern guys, GGG, etc., etc. So it's built up quite a bit. I keep it organized, neat, clean. I've got wonderful stories about meeting Ali, about speaking with him on the phone a few times. I've had his personal phone number, at least 4 different numbers. Numbers wouldn't be at the same time. They would be as he changed numbers. But I so seldom called. I was a little nervous, didn't want to bug him. But I've just had a wonderful, wonderful time. Well, you're talking about Charles Sonny Liston, wife Geraldine. Liston really was a nasty character, although he could be very nice with kids and others. As Ali said later, after he would beat him, and people are going to say Liston was nothing. People have short memories. They forget these things. Liston had a great record. He beat great fighters, beat the hell out of them. Just look at Cleveland Williams' face when Liston beat him up. So now he beats the German guy. I just forgot his name for a moment. Albert Westphal in 1 round. He beats Patterson in 1. He beats Patterson in 1 again. Clay is up there, says hello to the people, comes out like this, and then like he's scared. Now the fight's going to happen. Okay. First of all, a lot of people didn't realize Ali, maybe not in thickness at that time, although he got a lot thicker, was as big as Liston. Liston used to make himself look bigger by putting the towels under the robe and coming in like this. And Ali got to start with his psychological stuff about the bear. They went bear hunting, and in fact, they went out to Denver, where Liston was. They woke him up. Liston was in his silk pajamas in the middle of the night. They had the bear hunting vehicle. He was with his friend. Ali was Howard Bingham, the photographer, and Liston comes out and supposedly, pardon my language, said something as eloquent as, "What you want, black motherfucker?" In any case, he was bear hunting, and he started to get to him psychologically. All right, you want to get right to that fight? We'll get right to that fight. Here's what happened. Ali beat the hell out of him. That's what happened. Watch that fight. People tell younger people now, you want to see Ali, watch the third Frazier fight or part of the first Frazier fight. They'll certainly talk about the Cleveland Williams fight, where Ali was incredible. Although Williams had been hurt, had been shot, literally, whatever. Okay. They talk about a few other fights. I got that. You know, they're big on the Foreman thing. I'll say that, emphasize that again. Watch the first Ali-Liston fight. He beat the hell out of him. There were several state's attorneys, I believe, as reported, that explained or verified, confirmed, validated that Liston threw his arm out. He did. There's not much question. He had all kinds of cuts. Was that faked? Would they have like a little makeup man do that? No, it wasn't fake. He just beat the hell out of him. Now the second fight's going to happen. It's going to be in the Boston area, and Ali's got a hernia. So Liston had done all that training. He didn't want to train anymore. He'd been doing this a long time. And, you know, it's tough psychologically. He was maybe at a peak. Now he's got to, like, wind down, wait several months to fight Ali at that wimpy place in Maine. So the word was he didn't do a lot of training at that point. Didn't get it done. He's going to fight Liston the second time. They asked for a prediction. He said, "I'm not going to predict because I have a surprise." This came out interestingly. I have a surprise. Anybody who says there wasn't a punch, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You just watch it. Of course there was a punch. You have to get the right angle. You have to see it. Of course there was. Was it a good punch? Yes, it was a good punch. You have to understand ergonomics and juxtapositions and angles. And maybe just maybe, it hit a nerve. It was kind of like this. He later said it was the anchor punch that was supposedly taught to him by Stepin Fetchit, who, yes, I met. Stepin Fetchit said he got it from Jack Johnson. That was probably a lot of crap. Who knows? It was a hell of a punch. Enough to startle this big man. Enough to put him down. Now, to be fair, but everything I've read, with everything I've heard from the people who really know, I'm certainly not going to say that there's no way in the world that Liston was completely hurt that bad and couldn't get up. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say Ali would have no part of a fix. No chance. Why would Liston want to go in the tank? There was some thought that Muslims had come because of the Malcolm X versus Elijah and all that. They were going to maybe take a shot at Ali. They could miss and hit Liston. There was the mafia concerns. There was all kinds of stuff. But the punch was a hell of a punch. Now, when you see Liston down, it does look a little like bad acting, a little funky the way he's rolling around. And I don't think Liston could have beat him that night no matter what, because, man, Ali was superb, superb.
Yeah, and especially if he wasn't well trained, as all the rumors were, that
Correct.
he couldn't even jump rope. He's never been embraced by Americans, but he's got to be looked at as one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time. How do you think he'd do against Ali? And what do you think, in comparing him to Ali, is there any comparison?
Well, first of all, I have to admit, I keep thinking the next guy might get him, the next guy might get him, and Fury might get him.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out. He just might. He's got to be called one of the greats. He has to. Boring doesn't count. I take Ali against anyone who ever lived. And the story. You got to put it all together. First of all, Ali had a very high boxing IQ. Now, he could take punches. Klitschko, we're not that worried about the body, but Ali could take that as well as anyone. Didn't do any favors to his kidneys. Is it possible Klitschko could knock out Ali if he could get to him? Like, there's always that possibility, but when Ali got up from Frazier, that punch, don't forget, came from Frazier's, as he put it, his ancestors from South Carolina. I was in the guard. That was like unbelievable. So he could take that stuff. He could absolutely take that stuff. I don't think he'd have to, because he'd fight this smart fight and be whipping out that jab. He'd be doing that. He'd be out of the way. His reflexes would be just right. The way he'd be moving, he'd be able to come in with that chopping if need be. His footwork was obviously masterful. Yes, and when you deal with big guys, is it possible that somebody could get to somebody opposite of what I'm saying? Sure. I take him against anyone ever, and that absolutely includes Klitschko. Would he knock out Klitschko? Maybe not, but it could end up being a little bit of a Foreman thing, although Klitschko was more economical than Foreman certainly was in that fight. But when it got a lot later in the fight, who knows? Because Ali's stinging jab, don't worry about Klitschko's height. It starts to make marks. You can ask Ernie Terrell how stuff like that worked, by the way. Absolutely. I'm going with Ali all the way.
Just saw Mayweather retire undefeated. Of course, Marciano was famous for being 49-0. Mayweather tied his record. Ali, 5 losses. What is there to say about that?
Okay.
What's the difference?
I learned
is it better
things.
to be undefeated or better to recover from losses?
It used to be I'd look and I'd see a guy's got a couple losses, but the other guy has none. Obviously, it's the level of competition, but it's a lot more than that. Now, let's take a look. First of all, if you look at The Arc of Boxing by Mike Silver, a great writer, I don't agree with everything he says, but he makes some strong points, most of which Dan Coco of the IBRO, International Boxing Research Organization, would agree. You had guys that had lots of losses. Look at Archie Moore's record. Look at the record of a lot of these guys. Who did they lose to? With how much training, maybe? How often did they fight? Was it a hometown decision? Was it a newspaper decision? Did they learn anything when they lost? Did they progress? Those are the things that make a difference. Now, as far as Mayweather goes, yeah, he's a damn good fighter. This business about not going for 50-0 is weird, because in our culture, 50 means something. It's really hard to believe he wouldn't do that. I never understood, and I've talked to Marciano's brothers, excuse me, and a close friend of his, why he didn't go for the next one. I was told, well, he felt he had enough. Well, there was some question about his back, and as odd as this sounds, some question about maybe Patterson's speed, some question, don't laugh at that. There are things like that. Now, you're looking at 49-0 and 49-0. Best 43 knockouts for Marciano. Best record against him. How could there be a best record? He beat them all. Ted Lowry, right here in Connecticut, lost 2 decisions to him. One was controversial. Okay. So the next thing you look at is, that's it, 49-0, 49-0. Did you ever look at Robinson's record, how many fights he won in a row? Okay, then he had a loss, then he won a bunch. Look at that for Willie Pep. There's other guys you can look at. How about Julio Cesar Chavez from Culiacan, Sinaloa, Mexico? You know how many fights he won before Frankie Randall won? But he kept going. Forget about Ali's losses. Did I answer that question?
Definitely.
Okay. Because I'm going a mile a minute.
Rick Kaletsky, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're not as dumb as you